5:04. Got a quorum present. First item on the agenda is to elect an acting chairman. This is, they call a mulligan in golf. So we have nominations for acting chairman.
I nominate Bill Garrity. Second.
All right. Any other nominations? Okay. Nominations for deputy chair? Nominate Matt Williamson. Seconds for Matt?
Second.
Okay, well, I guess we can vote. All in favor of the one nominee for chair?
Aye.
Aye. And all in favor of the acting deputy chair? Matt?
Aye.
So I guess we've got 5 and 5. Right.
I'm here.
There he is.
Is the vote complete, or do you need another vote?
Matt, we're good.
Okay.
Good, but if you want to vote, you can go ahead and vote.
Is the vote for you as chairman, as Matt as the vice chairman?
There's one nominee for acting chair, me, and one nominee for deputy chair, which is Matt. I'd like to vote.
You can include my vote, yes, for both.
Okay, thanks. So 6. All
I'm
right.
sorry for the delay.
No problem. Next, the minutes. Does anyone have any need to add or change on the minutes?
No. Seems fine.
Minutes are approved. I didn't get any other correspondence. Did anyone receive any other correspondence?
Just
Matt's map.
Peter Reach.
Peter Reach, did he have? That was last month, wasn't it?
Was that last one?
With the ore and the mooring?
Right.
No.
He
About
asked
the,
a question about the moratorium on the bulkheads.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
God.
I think that was answered.
It was,
He was answered, but that was the only other correspondence that I know.
yeah, no other open correspondence. So briefings by our liaisons, BJ's out. Jim, you handed out.
Well, after 8 years, I'll make my final.
Thanks.
Yeah. Call to order at 5:05 PM. Bill Garrity.
Want to let Stella know that that thing's not on the agenda?
Yeah, Stella, what application are you here for?
Number 4, Malin.
Malin is no longer on the agenda.
Okay, all right, thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Stella. All right. And so everything is, all right. So let me just start again. Okay, so the Conoco Estuary Partnership, the effort now is on shoreline protection, utilizing natural shorelines, identifying shoreline properties, learning from Wmac. Obviously, a trivia question I learned at Wmac a couple of weeks ago back was Wmac has more shoreline than any other of the properties that the TNC owns in the United States. That's more shoreline. That was hard for me to believe, but it does. And I think said something like 28 or 30 some odd miles of it. It was a lot of miles, because of all the ins and outs of the Wmac. So that was kind of an interesting fact. The town in its hazardous mitigation plan, which I gave you, and this is really a little off, but the one thing I want to tell you is that the 4 areas that we're really working on closely is the ferry terminals, and you see the ramps are getting longer, and eventually the plazas are going to come up to guard against flooding. Wetlands protection, which I think the Newtown board, that'll be a main focus of the Newtown board. Road elevations, which have to be designed, which are budgeted for, and Amber has put money away for certain road elevations. That's going to probably take us the next 5 or 6 years to identify the 5 or 6 major roads that have to be elevated: Ram Island Road, West Neck, and the variety, Westmoreland, all of those roads that need to be elevated, and natural shorelines. Climate change is something that the PEP is really looking at. It does impact us a little bit here in terms of sea rise, but they're looking at temperature rise, precipitation, sea rise, ocean acidification, water quality and watershed, marine habitats, and species diversity population. But the 3 things that we actually are using in PEP that actually have some relationship here is Peconic Estuary Climate Vulnerability Study and Assessment. So what we're doing now is we're assessing the entire Peconic area from Riverhead all the way out to Montauk about areas that are going to be most impacted by climate change. All right, so that's available to us. We can see what happens in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years on projected sea level rise. Projected sea level rise at the median level is 16 inches between 2000 and 2050, 16 inches. So I would think that we're somewhere up about 4 or 5 inches, now, and we'll make up the difference in the next 27 years or so. The projection for 2100 is 34 inches. So in 100 years, in exactly 100 years, the Peconic Estuary is scheduled on a median range, not on a long range, on a high thing, rising almost 3 feet, which is, you can imagine, East Marion and all these communities that will literally be underwater, oriented in those areas. So it does impact, and you got to think that way when you're thinking about docks and bulkheads and everything else, as the town does. When we replace bulkheads, we're putting bulkheads up, 16, 18 inches higher than they were before, trying to forecast if the bulkhead expectancy is going to be for the next, 3 decades. What is the projection, and how do we best protect something like Condon Dock? So when we put that bulkhead in, that area all has to be raised up. It gets more involved because of the design monies that have to go into play and things of that nature, which is cost, but it's all in our mitigation plan, and we plan on, spending a lot of time on that. So I just wanted to share those things with you. The major flooding areas are the 2 ferry terminals, the 4 major roads, which I mentioned, and the 3 causeways, which are all high priority kind of items. If you ever want to go and look at the mitigation, on the back page, I listed the 23 action items in the mitigation plan. Some of them obviously don't, pertain too much to you. But if you look down at that gives you the list of the 23 and the point values that were determined on each one of those action items. So you can see it all the way down to pandemic response. But obviously sea level rise is an important factor, in a lot of this. Okay, so that's kind of it. After 8 years of being together, slight change of people here. I want to thank you all for, it's been a learning process for me going through these 8 years. Hopefully I've tried to serve the community, the committee well. I will miss it. I will miss the camaraderie of all of you. And I want to thank you very, very much. I appreciate your cooperation, your understanding, John. You did a great job. I miss your phone calls, but we will spend more time, quality time together rather than on this. We'll have old man talks down at.
John doesn't socialize. I don't know.
Hard work.
Thanks, Jim. It was, you were a great advocate and really functioned as a true liaison, which.
Thank you.
I got a quick question for Jim on PEP.
Yes.
Has been any chatter about the monitoring station in South Ferry that they put in this spring?
No, they don't give you those updates, but that data is being collected 24/7 and going up into a satellite and being transposed. I would imagine that all that data would be collectible and we could get a reading on that. And
I monitor every day. I'll send you a link.
Okay,
You can go on and look at it any day.
yeah. But over the course, you know what,
Anything good or bad happening?
No, it's just.
well, the temperature's dropping, John, I can tell you that.
Tracking the temperature is really the only thing that I really pay too much attention to. But
Yeah.
there's other vital statistics that they track.
Oxygen levels, and CO2 levels.
But I'll similarly to it, I check it every day.
Yeah. The one thing that I think is beneficial would be trends. We always talk about trends in Deer and Tech, is watching that actually materialize in terms of sea rise. So it's checking all the high and low tides. Are the tides more extreme? Are they getting higher? And for Shelter Island, right there at the South Ferry, we pretty much know in 10 years from now, 9 years from now, since it's been installed, exactly how many inches our seas have actually come up here on Shelter Island. It won't be based on one day. It'll be based on 3,650 days of data collection, which is a lot of data collection. So I think that'll be a true indicator to see what the projections are like from PEP and the reality of what you're actually getting here at the South Ferry. And around, by the way, it's just one station of 8 or so stations around the Peconic Estuary. And we just happen to be one of them, but I'm glad that they put it at the South Ferry. It's a good spot for it, and it's working fine. So, yeah. They're a good organization, and I plan on, I'm stepping down as the chairman of the East End committee, but I want to get on the Citizens Committee, which I can do as a private citizen, no longer as a councilman. I've already been invited to the Citizens Committees starting 2024. So I plan on working probably through, with Amber and just sending her information, important information that the town should be kept aware of. And the thing of it is, while the monies are out there, we need to capitalize on all of this money. There is money, for instance, the causeways, there's land out there we could purchase. There's land that we can purchase down near Dickerson Creek that's, available, and I'd love to be able to get a lot of that money that's available now and through our connections and get that, in our hands. So
Moving
that,
forward, is there someone in the town that can move into like your shoes, so to speak?
well, that's a rotating position. Of that position I was in once every 10 years. So you were in it for 2 years, and you have the 5 eastern towns in the town of Brookhaven. So it's actually every 12 years, you'll get a new representative to serve for 2 years on the local government. But yeah, we definitely will have it's not an official town committee, so to speak. So we didn't have a real liaison assigned to it. I think Amber and the new town board will determine whether that's fitting that they want to assign somebody that role or they don't, but it's a good committee to stay involved with. And I plan on staying involved with it from a citizen's point of view.
Yeah, great. That's good I've ever had.
Things that you would bring to our attention.
Yeah, I will definitely.
How easy is this money that's available to
Yeah,
get?
we're testing that right now. I have the calls into her, we want to be able to do
There's
it.
parties out there where I think time might be of an essence.
Yes.
I mean, would like if for instance CPF paid for something, could they get reimbursed?
Well, that's what we need to pursue that and ask that question. But we need this pinpoint. And by the way, even on marsh areas, they're not interested in a 1 acre marsh. They want to see bigger projects. That's how actually the money that was available is how they purchased the Pine Barrens in the beginning. I mean, think of the hundreds and hundreds of, if not thousands of acres in the Pine Barrens. So there is that money, a pot of money available for all of the estuaries. It's important that we identify large tracts of land that we would like to, preserve and monitor. And I think we have to do additional work on wetlands, and protecting of wetlands. And that's something that I will talk about with CAC next Monday night about, when we were talking about 75 and 100-foot protection, in the vegetative areas. That may not be true 10, 15, 20 years down the road, because as the water comes in, the wetlands are going to, come closer in. So we have to kind of think, just like we talk about raising the docks up and the bulkheads up, we got to think about what we're going to do with wetlands protection as well, because they're key. They're very, very important to the future of the island. But I will tell you, the mitigation plan for all the 40 action items, 21 of them are either been done or ongoing or being worked on right now. So it's not like we're not forecasting. I think Chief Reed and and some other people have put countless hours into this mitigation plan. It covers everything. I think the school, while the school is here, by the way, should we get a category 3, 4 hurricane up in here and we have many people displaced and flooded, the school would be the primary emergency site. You know, we have other sites like the senior center, and we have across the street at the Shelter Island Community Center, but the school would really be a mammoth place for a major storm that hit Shelter Island, where you have lots of people that are homeless or can't return back to their homes due to flooding or major damage. You know, we have kitchens, we have all kinds of facilities there at the school, obviously so you got to think ahead, and you have to have all of these plans in place based on, you know, the worst case scenarios that could happen to you. You know, you think about Fort Myer, if they knew what they knew, you know, would they really have their downtown located where their downtown is? If you notice, Montauk is taking all of their stuff on the seashore and encouraging businesses and motels and all to come to higher ground and helping financially to pay for that move. Because it's just a matter of time before they lose it. Can't rely on the Army Corps of Engineers to protect Long Island. You know, you know, it would cost you trillions, not billions, trillions. It just, we don't have the money, we don't have the assets at the time. You have to start thinking that climate change is here, sea rise is real, and you have to have these plans in place to think widespread and think out 20, 30, 40 years, as opposed to what we're going to do next year, you know?
Jim, to Tom's point, you mentioned about sort of PEP, you're sort of transitioning off because of your official roles ending.
Right.
But who's managing that for the island? You know, like sort of like this, when you're out,
Well,
the person that's taking, or is it sort of spread around?
Our new supervisor sitting right in the back, and she probably could address that, which she's gonna, you know, I don't want to put Amber on the spot right now, but she's got 3 other people that have been voted into office, and that's for them to decide. And the 5th person
Just
that may
coming
come
up
up.
closer to be to the mic. We are going to figure out what all the committee liaison positions will be. So someone will be picking up that role. As Jim mentioned, he was the chairman of that specific committee. We won't be continuing that because it rotates for a number of years, but someone will be assigned to PEP. And we want to continue the relationship because Jim has done a great job really fomenting, you know, Shelter Island as an integral part of this, and we want to keep that going.
Yeah, we don't want to lose the work.
Exactly, exactly, yeah.
Say the other thing is not Jim doing it, the connections there. Because you got a Fred Thiel there, and you have all of these political, Nick Loda now is a key player in this, you know, and he seems to be very receptive. He happens to be best friends with Brian Dolger. They went to school together. So here our superintendent of schools is best friends with our new representative, you know, and that has helped us already, and it could help us in the future. So having those connections with people is very, very advantageous, you know, and Kevin McDonald, for instance, for the TNC, he's a big leader in this PEP, and he and I have to go way back to way before I became a councilman when I was tied in with Wmac. So we have a very good working relationship, and he's very eager to help us in any way, shape, or form. So there's a lot of good contacts there. And it's not just PEP, remember. There are 88 organizations that are members of PEP. Stony Brook is just one of them. They have a Marine Division, you know? But there's every organization out here that you can think of is a member of PEP. It's a powerful group of people and it seems to be getting more stronger as we go forward. You know, that bonding, that partnership, it truly wasn't called a partnership. It was the Peconic Estuary program. Yeah, but that partnership now is a real partnership. They've built a great bunch of people with a lot of power. They're doing a lot of good things. So,
They've come a long way.
They have.
I was on at the very beginning.
yeah.
Do they have any sort of specific recommendations about the shoreline hardening? Because you mentioned that as part of this, but I mean, is there any sort of guidance coming out of PEP on that?
Well, as I said to you, when Megan goes to that meeting and Joe Fenora go to that meeting, They are going to report back to the town board, to Amber and the town board, and they're going to tell you the findings of what they're, and they'll share that information with you guys.
They had like a seminar here.
Yeah.
You know, in October.
And it was, by the way, and we were cited by them as the only of 5 East End towns that had gathered all of this talent together, because we had representative from every major group, you know, whether it was, you know, Tim who was here before, and James was there, and you know, Al was there, and we had a whole bunch of other people that were from the planning board and from the CAC, and all the players, and Joe Fenora was there, Meg was there. You know, it was a very, very good group. So the interest level, if you show them the interest, they're gonna show you the interest. So you gotta stay plugged in. That's the whole thing, you know.
Great. Thanks, Jim. Thanks for maintaining that. Bo, do you have anything to?
And just real quick for you, so good news, we were successful in getting Deering Harbor conditional program up and running, way earlier than usual. Technically, it started today. Unfortunately, due to the rain yesterday, I wasn't able to open it up, so it won't actually start unless there's more rain until next Monday.
Could you explain that a little bit, Bo, first, a little bit?
Yeah, so the DEC sets exceptionally onerous conditions on us for when we're allowed to open up this normally closed area. They're not super receptive to changing those conditions. I'm working on it, but basically it requires daily communication between the Heights sewer treatment plant operator and me, daily water rainfall monitoring by me, and then reporting that information that there's no issues in the Heights and less than ½ inch rainfall in the last 24 hours back to the DEC every morning before 8 a.m. If those conditions are met, then we can open it up for the day, 9 a.m. to sunset. People can go out and harvest shellfish there.
Okay.
So less than ½ inch of rainfall.
In 24 hours.
24 hours.
Right.
And what about the Heights? What'd you say about that?
It just confirming that it's operated
Okay.
appropriately.
Okay.
Right, which it's never not operated.
Right.
Appropriately.
Just to correct me if I'm wrong, that ½ inch rainfall amount was actually modified from 3-4 years ago?
Pre when I took over, so it's more than 4 years ago.
4 years
Yeah,
ago.
I don't know. When I took over the program, it was already at ½ inch.
It was already at
Yeah,
half.
and I'm trying to work on that, cause it's, I think, unnecessarily restrictive.
Yeah.
And maybe rainfall, like hourly rainfall, since we have ways of monitoring that now, might be more appropriate, right? Like if you have an inch in an hour, that's different than ½ inch over 24 hours, right? It's much different runoff rates from that. So this luckily is the same guy that we've worked with on the shellfish closures. And so they're receptive to our participation. But this seems to be an upper level coming down from like that EPA study that they did, or FDA study that they did like 20 years ago, the dye study. So I'm trying to chip away at it, but it's nothing else. At least we got it opened, you know, in December, or we're gonna have it open in December as opposed to waiting until January. So hopefully that's good.
The water testing, does that still take place when it's open? You test the water as well?
Yeah, so the water testing that we're doing for DEC, or the water testing that we're doing for Blue Water Task Force. Blue Water Task Force is still going on, right?
Okay.
That's, with Conic Baykeeper, that's still happening. It's every other week now that I'm doing that. It's still being updated by Wednesday of that week. So there was none today. We're in the off week right now. The water testing that is supposed to take place pursuant to the conditional shellfish program, that hasn't taken place yet. Last year, it never took place once. So the DEC came out and they give us all kinds of equipment to test everything. And they said, okay, we're gonna call you at some random time and you have to go test the water and then bring it to us and then we're gonna test it. And that's part of it. They never did that once. So it's their condition, it's not ours. Yeah, it's not ours. So if they don't ask for it, I'm more than happy to not collect it. But we have everything, we're prepared to do that at any time.
My only
Is that
reason,
multiple sites?
Well, 2 sites within Deering Harbor, yes. Right, but it's just for, it's subject to or a condition of the conditional program. Right, so it's just within.
They gave you all the stuff, but they don't call you.
Yep.
my questioning is is that gonna hurt us in trying to get this back open? Because these all should be good water readings if they were tested.
Yeah, so I've pointed out to them that we are participating in this other initiative as well, which obviously they don't care about officially,
Yeah.
right? They're not gonna take that as any type of valid data set to make a decision on. But it certainly paints an image, right? It colors in some of the background. We have people, we have an interest, we have the dedication, where we're wanting to do the right thing, make sure everybody can function safely. So I think it helps what we're doing. Ultimately, it's the fact that they're not collecting pursuant to their own regulations. I think that speaks really to the onerous nature of the program, right? Like if it's so complicated, you guys can't even do what you're saying you want done, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
You know, so, more to.
Do you have any sort of paper trail of communication with them that, you know,
I'm a paperwork guy.
yeah,
Yes,
okay.
absolutely.
Is it something, should we even be considering having Blue Water Task Force make a test site so that we can get readings?
We're testing in the same spot.
Oh, they are testing?
Where I test in Deering Harbor is where I have to test for the DEC.
Oh, so it's already being,
It's the exact same location,
Okay.
different tests.
different tests,
Right,
yeah,
different
okay.
laboratory. But
Okay,
it is
it's being
the
done.
spot, right? Like that's where they want it, so, or one of two.
So we have the info anyway? Okay, great.
Second thing I had for you was, Tom was the only one who got back to me on special requests for like a year-end report. So I just wanted to recanvass again. If anybody has anything, January meeting, I'll give that little year-end report. And then last but not least, you know, on behalf of the police department and the waterways users of Shelter Island, Councilman Colligan, good luck. Right? Billy said, I think he said the right thing. You're an ardent advocate for the waterways and waterways projects. So we thank you for that. And if Councilwoman Fola was here, then I would express that as well, but she's not. So good luck in your future endeavors. Thank you. Thank you.
So Paul, the only thing I was gonna ask for was still to the holding tank testing, boarding, whatever it takes.
Yep, that'll be in the report. Yep.
Okay, great.
Go ahead. You sent around a note about I guess the kayak pricing and stuff like that. And that's going into online mooring. I just had a question about that.
Right now, that's managed solely on an Excel database. And it's been a trying experience administratively working with that. So we have a feature as part of our online moorings program that does that exact thing. I don't think anybody knew that when we created the town boat storage permit process. Otherwise, we probably would have just gone that way to begin with. But anyway, long story short, right, online moorings, central database, a single authoritative database, right? So that way, anybody who needs one bit of information gets the same information regardless of how or who gets it, right? It's not multiple pieces of paper here. This file hasn't been updated because it's on that computer, so on and so forth. So my plan, and I've been working with the town clerk's office, is to essentially turn on that function of our online moorings program that we have. It does not cost anything. There's no additional fee, so to speak, for using that portion of our program. Okay. They do treat it the same as any other application. So every applicant is, and that's how they make their money. They're billed by the number of applications that they handle, right? So by moving I'm going to use a round number, 325 post storage permits, and maybe a little more in 1 year, maybe a little less, but that's a good ballpark number. Onto there is a per permit application per year, right, that they levy. What we have already done is move that permit application fee to the user in the online moorings version that we have right now. So in other words, just for super simplicity, right? It's $150 to renew a private mooring. It's $150, that's what we get, meaning the town. And then there's an additional $7 charge on top of that that online moorings gets. You as the applicant, whoever you are, you pay $157, they take the $7, we get the $150, and that's how it works. So there would be an additional fee to the user, right? And I don't know what off the top of my head, what the various categories of permit fees are. I think it's $25, $50, and $75. So you could just do the math on that, would add $7 to any one of those, depending on, again, this is all elective and it's all user-based. So that is in the works process for a number of, like I said, administrative and managerial upgrades. So just wanted to, I know you guys don't really have that much to do with that program, but in the interest of having waterways input on the waterways related things, I just figured we'd send it out. Maybe I'm missing something. You guys, Billy, you picked up immediately. Okay, is this, how does this work with Waterways Fund, et cetera, et cetera. So if there are any other major concerns, let me know. But as of right this second, we're gonna try to have this up and running, or I'm going to have it up and running prior to the issuance of the new permits, which starts in March from April.
This will be an additional fee added to the current fee?
Right, so what do you pay right now for your dinghy?
I'm not even.
Just add $7 to that. That's like the simple one.
$7 for that.
Add $7.
So does that mean that the original fee is still to cover the administrative costs next door here at the clerk's office? And then
Yeah, the 25.
there's two administrative fees going on.
Well, the $25 is a permit fee, right? That's what that is, right? And it's a tithe, right? I mean, that's what right? They're charging you to keep your stuff on public land. It's the same thing as a parking permit, et cetera. So yes, there would be an administrative fee on top of that now.
Yeah.
Right. There is an option, and it'll be at the town board's discretion, to have that fee come out of the $25 fee.
That's what I was.
If in theory, that $25 fee is intended to cover the administrative costs in addition to generate some income, right? Then the town board at its discretion can say, no. For this one, we want to have that, we're going to pay, the town will pay the $6, $7 fee.
They didn't do it for the moorings, or they did?
They did originally.
They used to do it.
And then they switched it.
And then when they needed to get.
Right, so that is an option, right? It is an option, and I think in that original email I sent to you, that's laid out. Whether or not the town board elects to do that, I don't know. I don't have it all in the race, so.
Didn't they recently raise those
That
fees?
fee was recently
What?
increased.
No,
not the mooring fee.
Oh, the online mooring?
Storage fee.
I don't know that the fee was raised, and so I'm taking over this program, right? So with Peter's retirement, now that's saddled on to me, so I'm trying to figure it out as well. Again, I don't have a boat storage permit, so I don't know, but
I'm not sure when it was.
I don't know that it went up. I think what happened was they went from a 2-year permit to a 1-year permit.
In other words, they went up.
So, right, so the fee stayed the same.
In the process, they went up.
Right.
Let's see, what does that mean? Double.
We can't put anything over on you, that's.
I'm watching.
We also have the monthly rate and the weekly rate, by the way.
Right. So anyway, that's, yes.
Just before you leave, on the pump out, John, 3 places on Shelter Island you can get pumped out, right? 3 marinas, yours being one of them. Do you ever keep how many pump outs you do in May, June, July, or a rough number? Do you have any idea? Do they log that, or do you not know that?
I don't know. At the moment, I don't know. At one point we did.
It's-
We do have to report it to the Environmental Facilities Corp.
Yeah. It would be interesting, and maybe in hindsight for 2024, letting the 3 marinas know beforehand, if they could do that. That would be an interesting thing to see how many hundreds of boats actually get pumped out during the course of, from May 1st through September 30th, or whenever you.
You can get the information from the state. I got all the numbers a few years ago when I was pressing for the pump out boat. They're required to provide that information if they want to get reimbursement from this,
Okay.
from the state.
Okay,
At the time, Cockles and Deering Harbor were both submitting, but Island Boatyard wasn't even bothering because it just, they didn't want to deal with the administrative hassle of it. But yeah, those numbers are available. They were pathetically low.
when you say low, do you remember any of those numbers, just out of your offhand?
You know, below 50.
Below 50 for the season?
For all of them or for?
No, for one, yeah, for one particular one, yeah.
That's from lack of record keeping.
Yeah, I mean, I personally pumped out a boat 15 times this summer.
Yeah, well, this is going back a few years ago.
No, yeah, right.
But,
So, that was one boat that many times. So I'm sure that's probably a record keeping type of.
Yeah. It would be advantageous that all three pump out stations keep accurate records. Where they want to put in for reimbursement, that's their business. But just that for the committee to know, how many boats are being pumped out during May, June, July, and September.
They're financially incentivized to report it, so it's,
Sure.
you would think,
Yeah.
they could commit the clerical manpower to.
Good information.
I understand you would like to see that. My focus is on making sure that facility is running 8 hours a day, every day. That's where my focus is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe,
Yeah, I'd like to know how we're doing mooring wise. Numbers going up, numbers going down.
Sure, yeah. We actually, John and I had discussed, and I think I did it for a couple of meetings and have since forgot about it, but I was doing for a period of time, there's sort of like a net change in the number of cancellations and things.
Right.
So I can make a little note to myself and get that back into a more regular routine reporting.
while you bring that up, Daniel Lord Road, it seems like maybe there are 4 or 5 boats on 10.
I think it's 3.
3.
Yeah.
3. Well, why are those other 7 not being used? I mean,
That's the way it's always been down there.
You don't have to use it. There's no requirement to use them.
All right, okay.
Yeah, that's the way that's always been down
The
there.
other thing on the mitigation plan, because so many boats like to launch out of there, it's very paid to launch a boat, is that's a road that needs to be elevated, started to dig. I went through the pages.
Daniel Lord Road,
Yes.
have we figured out who owns it?
Who's you gonna raise?
To be honest with you, there's certain days you can't get down there, or you can launch from the road, not that road, the road,
From Manatee Road.
from Atlantic, yeah. You can go right down the hill. But that area is an area that, as you rise, you're gonna be losing that area. You gotta think about that for the future, if that's a viable place you wanna maintain. I heard it's one of the most desirable places on the island to launch from, so.
It's one of the most frequently used, only because it's one of the least bad. Not because it's a good spot, it's because it's one of the least bad spots.
Oh, okay.
And it has a dock.
Which is, yes.
And that's a bonus.
The dock is very helpful.
And that's very helpful, having a dock there, sure.
Yeah. And the stuff that's across the street from the ramp is a menace to trying to turn a halfway decent sized trailer around.
Gotta be good.
racks, yeah. The racks, we move them around and if that does pose an issue, like, let me know, we can move them around more. The reason we had them there this summer was because we were able to easily tie up to one of the signs there. Because in the early spring, that whole rack floated into West Neck Bay. I had to go find it and bring everybody's stuff back, so they tied it off to the signpost there. They float really well, I'm surprised.
Anyone have anything else for Bo? No? I just had a couple of comments. So I'd like to establish a deadline for submissions for consideration at our monthly meetings. We get things now, we get them a day in advance or whatever, and it's just, sometimes it's too much. A burden for everybody to get a chance to look at it, town clerk, Christina, all of us. So I think 2 business days prior to our monthly meeting would be reasonable to, as a cutoff, so that anything received after that wouldn't be considered at that monthly meeting. I don't know what we need to do actually to establish that as a rule, whether we need to vote or it's something the town board wants to consider, but I think that would be a policy we want to put in place.
We subject, oh, sorry. Are we subject to the same sort of like public meetings laws where like that actually would have to be out there, like in terms of like, having a hearing on one of these applications, for instance? Or do we not count under the sort of the town board's obligations because
Yes, you do.
we do? It's the same sort of
So
thing.
it's 24 hours,
It's 24, okay.
but it's open meeting laws, so it's, you can, you as a committee, you want to be more stringent, you can.
We do.
Yeah,
I believe so.
I think that's a very good idea.
That makes sense?
Absolutely.
Okay,
In our case, it would be like, give us 4 days to look at something. You know, because it's.
well, 2 business days would give
I
us.
know, so I mean, we have a weekend left to.
Yeah, so you actually have 4 or 5 days, yeah, if you have to know by Thursday, you have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all day.
Might be
That's
submitted by the Wednesday end of the.
When end of business Wednesday,
Wednesday, yeah, that would be perfect.
if the meeting's on Monday, but anyway.
Yeah, Wednesday with Mondays, that's perfect.
The other issue was, just because it came up today, that under our code, applications need to be complete. So if they're going to be presented to us for consideration, and a complete application has all of the other permits from the other agencies. That's part of our code, and that's the way it's been done, and there's really, so that's just the reason, not the reason, I think it's the reason, it's the reason why the applications didn't make it to the agenda tonight. So from there, new business, we've got open, there's also, let's do the bulkhead first, because I think it's pretty straightforward. I went down and took a look at it. I don't know if anybody else did.
Which one is the bulkhead?
That would be
They're both the same property.
Shelter Island Associates is one, and Shelter Island Waterfront is the other. Associates is the bulkhead.
Associates LLC is the bulkhead. Associates LLC. Waterfront Associates, that's the one we're looking for, right? One of them is Shelter Island Shelter Associates.
Shelter Associates.
That's the one we're looking for. Oh, Shelter Water, okay.
The only, I went down and looked at it. It is washed out. It does need replacement. The only thing I thought was really unique is that the property line cuts right through a structure on the waterfront, which I don't know how that applies, but it's really not our issue.
Right.
And I just had one question for Jack. What do you do with the concrete groins, whatever you want to call them?
They're to the point where we'll either remove them, unless we can make a connection go. When we did the other sides, we patched around them, but some of those are in such bad shape that they'll just get cut.
You just take them away?
Yeah. There's some of them, there's not much left of them.
Yeah. Okay.
Other than that, it's pretty much in kind in place, right?
Yeah, we're removing the crease of the bulkhead and putting a new vinyl bulkhead.
Final bulkhead in place, okay.
Anybody else got any questions or issues?
No.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
James? You good?
I'm good.
Matt?
Yep, James.
Tom?
Good, yep.
I'm good. Al?
I'm good.
We still have Mark? Mark, it looks like you're
Muted.
good. Mark's good. Six.
6-0.
Six, yeah.
One thumbs up from Mark.
Okay, then the second application is also Mr. Tropman under the name of another entity, Shelter Waterfront Associates. Application for a new boat lift. So this is interesting that it came up now because it it came up in the middle of going through the code and questioning a lot of the language in the code. So I'm curious, Jack, do you view this as a repair?
No, it's gonna be to the point where replacement.
Replacement.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
you would differentiate repair and replacement?
yeah.
But it's in place
It's
in
in,
kind.
it's like in kind in place. It's, you know, we were gonna try to repair it as it was. And, you know, I told Ken, I said, let's take the higher road and get a full permit because, you know what? It's gonna be a waste of time. It'll be cheaper to replace it than fix it. I mean, if it was a technicality thing, I would have repaired it for him, but, you know,
Well,
so we're gonna replace it.
So I bring it up because replacement is not addressed in that section of the code. Maintain is, and repair is. So in my mind, this replacement is more akin to maintaining something than repairing something. The difference as to how it affects the applicant is big. So if you're maintaining something, it's all semantics. If you're maintaining something, you're either keeping it as it is, or you're keeping it up, meaning that you're replacing it and doing work to it to keep it maintained. Repairing it, to me, is basically the same as maintaining it. But the code treats it very differently. If you're maintaining it, you just do it in kind and in place. If you are repairing it, it requires you to make it less non-conforming. We have a non-conforming dock here. So, and another point I want to make is I wish we would put the length of this dock on here. It's got to be a few hundred feet.
It's a big dock.
Yeah. So bottom line is it's non-conforming. So bottom line to all that is I think this is language we want to change in the code. I don't think that maintaining something and repairing it as part of maintaining it should require you to have to make it less non-conforming. If you were to modify it or alter it or make some other change, if this was a different boat lift, it's 8,000 pounds now?
Yes.
How do you, and I went down and looked at it, how do you know it's 8,000? I'm just curious, how do you? Because I looked at
It should be marked on there by the serial number.
Yeah, I looked at the motor.
I mean, this thing is a little old. I mean,
Yeah.
and by code, we're allowed 8,000 pounds. So it was just one of these things where, you know, I told Ken, I said, listen, this is just one of these things where let's just take the higher road. We're gonna do the other permit anyway. Turns out it's on a different piece of property and it's gonna be over the $10,000. So it was more an issue of the $10,000 than anything. And, you know, like I said, he's just a guy trying to take the high road. He's like, okay, get a permit for that, get a permit for that, you know.
I'm just kind of using you to demonstrate how, you know, we're going through like every word in this thing. And so you run into something like this and it's a good example of how the code can be difficult to navigate.
In terms of how I look, I mean, I haven't even looked at that portion recently, but how I think about repair versus maintain is if it's currently functional, then, and you're doing something to it, then it's maintaining. If it's broken, you have to fix it, then it's a repair. In my linguistic sort of understanding of those words, like that's how I would look at it. It's like you're keeping it going. I don't know.
I think that's good. And so that would throw this into,
Affects it.
well, it would throw this into a repair, which would mean that they'd have to make the dock less conforming in order to put this new boat lift in.
More conforming.
I mean, less non-conforming, sorry. It's not conforming. I don't know that that's what we want to do. I don't know how you would make this dock less non-conforming. And we want to encourage people to maintain and keep these docks in repair. So,
Something needs to be changed.
yeah, but under the current circumstances, I think that I would view this as maintaining, replacing, maybe that's a word that needs to be inserted in here, but that's my view at any rate. Make sense?
That makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
So on the application, I think that was all I had, yeah. James, you okay with this?
Yeah, I was okay even before.
Yes. Sure. I figured we had a couple extra minutes to kill. Matt?
Likewise, I mean, I look at it as place in kind, so,
Okay.
Yeah, I would see it in place in kind and it should be allowed. My only note is like you noticed, there's no size on the dock, so we the application complete showing that in the future, that'd be great.
Good.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Hello,
You good?
good.
All right, 6-0. Okay, other business. So,
One other business, Bill, that I failed to mention, that two people that are up for February 1st, Al and Mark.
oh,
Just want to get it out there, don't wait till January and then surprise somebody and say, oh, by the way, you've got 2 days to, so if you're thinking about coming back and you want to re-up here, again, that's a committee recommendation back to the liaison in January on how you want to go with this. So, but I just wanted both Mark and Al to know that February 1st, 2024 is the time for renewal.
Bill, can I ask a question about, I mean, these two other hearings, you're not gonna address them?
so they're not on they're not on the agenda because they were incomplete because we didn't have
Okay, so I'll get a
DEC.
letter from the waterways for, incomplete application, or does that come from the town board? Who does it come from, the town clerk? Did I get a letter of incomplete application to notify me of what I have to do? That's what the DEC does. I get a notice from them if I'm missing, but you know that. So I was just wondering where I'm gonna get that letter from and who.
It would be the town clerk. Or the. So she'll send out letters.
Perfect, thank you.
Let's see, no other applications. So other business, we have,
Who's going to touch base with the town clerk, you or
I will.
Christina? That's right, I just wanted that there.
thanks, Christina. So chapter 53, couple of things. Tom came up with a great suggestion as far as a form that we could use, on site as we go around and look at different areas of the shoreline. I think just got exposure, depth, obstructions, the address, in or out of the water as far as vegetation, zoning, the shorefront length, structures and obstructions, bluffs, cliffs, vegetation. I think it's great. Most can be done at the site. Some will have to pull like depth. We're not going to go out and start measuring the depth, but we can pull that information off of information that Matt's pulled together. Matt has put together this atlas. I don't know did you get a look?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you got it. Yeah, it's a great piece of work. It's really going to be hugely.
Is it our intent to go through each of those parcels or just areas where those parcels are?
Poor Matt.
I just want to make some clear to that.
No, in fact, when he presented it, it goes through areas of the island, and I think that's a good way to approach this. And, one area being from Hay Beach Point to like Real Point, it really is so graphic, and you can see, you have to go out, 50 feet to get to 2 feet, and then you have to go out 150 feet to get to 4 feet. Your docks would be like in Greenport. So yeah, no, I think it's definitely areas of the island. How many different, would you have, like 30 different?
oh, they're like 40 something.
Oh, even as sections of the island, it's.
I mean, the reason I did it that way is just because, so to get it to scale, you could actually see what was going on. Otherwise, it'd be like, you're like trying to count.
That's
all
what I
items.
noticed first
Yeah.
was the scale was like you
Yeah.
could see what was
Yeah,
happening.
that was the only driver for that. And again, it's like, there, you know, some of those areas are split up, they have different characteristics, like, you know, initially I tried to be like, okay, this is kind of the same area, but.
Right.
And figured just so we could look at it, that's the only reason, and I, you know, wasn't no intent to be like, okay, this should be treated one way and this should be treated, but it was not the intent at all, just so we could see it.
So Tom, if you, when you're on the water, if you see major discrepancies between the kind, like depth data that's on.
That's why I was wondering, maybe it wouldn't be a good idea to maybe just take a boat ride out there and take a look at the depth gauge when we, you know, when we do approach these properties. And, you know, just, this is, you know, okay, so this is what we've got kind of, and I think that would also help with some of the lines that he's collecting from other data sources. We can, and maybe not every single property, but every now and then we say, oh, okay, let's take a reading here at 100 feet from the beach, just to see if that's, you know, corresponding with the information that you're getting and using from other organizations.
Yeah.
Just on charts.
Yeah, but that's what I was gonna say, the charts and no information and avionics information is, like, you do a lot of gunk holing, I know, with your boat tooling, right? I do the same thing, and the charts I've never run aground so far. You know, it's like, tells me it's 8 feet, I'm getting 8 feet on my depth finder and, you know, whatever.
And usually things are pretty accurate, yes. I don't think it'd be necessary to do every single property, but probably couldn't hurt to do a few of them.
Yeah. Okay, a little tougher to do this time of year, and we're under the gun to get this done by, before it's warm.
I think, you know, I was talking with Al today about, you know, time sort of is of the essence.
It is.
I mean, I think, you know, the moratorium is great, but I think that our focus should be, you know, don't worry about the moratorium. I think the moratorium only creates, you know, craziness among people who, oh my God, moratorium, as soon as they hear that word, you know, they're, you know, crazed to get applications in, and, you know, and I don't know if that's what happened with these two applications, but I think if we could just super focus on getting to the thing and getting a recommendation to the town board and getting these code, you know, amendments.
Yeah, no, wait.
You know, that's the way to do it, you know, and maybe forget about the moratorium, you know, because.
I think we move forward regardless.
Good point. I think we need the moratorium to give us the time to focus on getting all this stuff done. I mean, it's.
Well, maybe we don't have to do all of it at once. I mean, you know, maybe it's just this kind of where docs go, and then, you know, then picking the code apart like you did, you know, for semantics of repair or maintain, you know, those are other things. But I think we have a big thing that I think is causing us all a lot of agita about where docs should be or shouldn't be. I mean, maybe we should just get that done, recommended.
Well, I think that.
You know, I mean, everybody would love to have everything done, you know, all the Ts crossed and the Is dotted and do the whole code, but maybe that's, you know, given it's a lot in your face.
It is a lot, and as the liaison, my last thing I will say, limiting the scope of this in year one, and then having a year two where you follow up, might not be a bad idea. What I don't think the town board's in favor of is seeing these moratoriums go on forever, and then getting to May, and having them spill into the, you know. So if you limit your scope on what you're gonna do in year one, you go out and do it. Year two, it's part of it, maybe a 3-year plan, where you just divide it up. You take a piecemeal and do it. And try to get it done in 4 months with the idea, you know, you get it done in 4 months by April, and that helps everybody, applicants, the installers and everybody else, and then gives you a little buffer, you know? So if you start now, you know, maybe you try to shoot for March 31st or April 15th, tax day.
We've been working on it.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is that you need the shoreline information to inform some of the changes you want to make in the verbiage of the code. So we kind of work hand in hand. You can't just say no docks here without getting the information that's out there. So we have to go out and do this work.
James, I think it'd be interesting actually to try to speed it along. Can we get to that? You know, these are regions that we just don't think should happen at all, or these are regions we know we can finesse. And then these are regions where, yes, whatever, it's already there. I mean,
If it's already there, that's one thing, you know, I mean.
because if we can do that now, that would be great.
I think
But
that's.
I think we need that, anyway, you know, I was thinking we need to develop that record, but if we can get past that quickly, then we don't need to spend time doing.
So maybe as a goal for the next meeting, we each look through these 49 pages. There's a lot of information there.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's great information, and it helps you to focus, you know, oh yeah, there's that area and that area, and oh, this is not exactly the way I thought it was. But then there are some areas that are, you know, that way.
If people could even just go on, literally onto those sheets of paper and mark off ranges where like, hey, this is an area of concern, this is an area I have no problem, and actually have notes right on that. You know, that might, you know, maybe that concentrates.
Program gives you the ability to go in and edit and mark it up.
Yeah, I mean, that thing is a database that I created using a program called QGIS. So you can actually go in lot by lot. I don't know whether it's the same, I don't know what you guys use, Jack, if, you know, because you've, you know, clearly taken all the survey stuff and you put it into some kind of a surveying and development.
Okay, we're hydrographic. We take the original survey, then set the lines, and the hydrographic surveyor comes in. So every doc starts with hydrographic.
Yeah.
So before I even do the design or even see about expedite the permit.
And then I mean, what do you, I mean, it looks like they've got the same sort of look. So what, are you using some kind of a system, like some program that's?
Well, it's all done by GPS.
Yeah.
The guy actually physically goes out and does all the measurements.
He has like he has like a
Kayak with a GPS, yeah.
thing that has.
No, but in terms of.
You know, it's called, what's the proprietary name of it? There's a name for what he uses.
And I was just thinking in terms of in the office though, it's like you're managing that information. It just looks like in a systematized fashion. And all I'm sort of saying is that I'm using this GIS program and it's got all the different lots in there and it's sort of, and then keyed to, you know, GPS coordinates. And so I could draw new rectangles, you know, for whatever reference we have. I mean, basically, if you can get the information on one of those sheets, I can put it into this system.
You know, at our
pretty
meeting in
easily.
October here, Meg Larson came up with a great idea with them. They have a nice staff, growing staff, because they're more financially back now. Get a shoreline expert. Somebody, you talk about shorelines being, how to better protect, get an expert that is well qualified in shoreline protection. They could also branch out and say, and look at bulkheading and docking and things of that nature. If you had a person who was really a good shoreline expert to be able to do that. Particularly interested in terms of identifying, you know, shorelines that we need to better protect. And who better, I mean, Joe's got our town engineer does have a marine background, but I don't know whether he's totally qualified in that particular area to be able to make those kind of judgments.
Right.
You know, and by the way, 5 East End towns would share the cost of it. So, you know, like if you hired a guy that was working full-time, and we would get him, not 1/5, because maybe we would get him 1/10 of the time that we would need him, but 1/10 of 240 days working, 24 days where you dedicate to Shelter Island, where you study the shoreline in Shelter Island, you know, that's big. Writing up reports and making recommendations, you know, based on.
I think that's good, but I think timing, I could see being an issue with that. You know?
I
mean, I think this person, I think this person
Long range.
is long range, certainly, if that's where we're going with it, yeah, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah.
But now I think we need to use our local noodles and,
Yeah, we don't have
Figure
time
this
to
out.
bring someone in or.
I'm not talking,
Yeah.
I'm talking long range. Just somebody that would, you know, I think it would be very beneficial to all 5 East End towns. You're gonna need that kind of an expert.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, for example, timing wise, I don't think we have to rush and do how many miles of shoreline of Mashonack at this point?
we can lump that into one thing.
You know, we can do that next year, 2 years from now, because, you know, even though they have the ability to sell and to do whatever they want with that property in the future, I don't see it happening too soon. So I think we can put that one off. That saves.
Half the island.
Or you could just include it as something, if everybody agrees, where you wouldn't want to see a dock.
Right, yeah.
You know, and then, you know, cover it now, you know, and, you know,
Cover it
if it becomes
briefly now.
contentious down the road where, you know, that might be, the more things you put like that,
Yeah.
the less desirable it might be for them to want to sell it anyway.
Good point.
That's really good.
Good point.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
made a decision last Tuesday on the Sunset Beach dock that, you know, they were entitled to, and they're right away, right, to have one that would be further south than we wanted. It would almost be in the swim area, and you'd have to create an area, you know, between the two swim areas, between their area and the town area, for boats to come in and out of. We didn't want that. So we were taking a look at, with their approval, of moving it down near the north end, down where they operate that boat launch. That would be their boat launch operating off that dock, going out and servicing those big boats. And it'd be away from the swim area, and it would be a lot safer. Obviously, we have the power line that goes, the cable that goes through there, you'd have to be careful about. But that is, you know, that is something that we're taking a look at. We didn't find having a dock in the middle, you know, of that area, that beach area, as something that would be safe for swimmers or desirable aesthetically or any other way.
That brings up, I mean, didn't we just approve moorings for the Peconic Lodge?
Secret.
And I know,
No,
good one.
Pridmar, I'm sorry.
Pridmar.
Because it was too rough for a dock? I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. We just approved moorings because it was too rough for them to use the dock.
Yeah.
Right, now down the beach, this is another reason why I think we need this evaluation.
Right.
If they're gonna consider a dock, you know, it doesn't
Pep was.
make any sense.
Pep, Tom, has resurrected the conservation mooring discussion.
Right, we heard that.
Shelter Island with 8 conservation moorings. When we went to the Prid one, we might have entertained the fact that the Prid one wouldn't question anything. We use conservation moorings, you know, in that location, but we never thought of it, you know, to think back then. Because obviously they would like them in one area, you know, and obviously.
That wouldn't be a good area to
We're not
try anyway.
interested in getting involved in that. So, you know, that's something to think about for the future. Should that ever come up again, Amber, that, you know, the conservation moorings, that might be a spot where, you know, would be, again.
I don't know, but I don't think that the effective conservation moorings in that area is worth putting them in.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no grass or anything out there.
Nothing there.
That's not a place to consider something like that, I don't.
Yeah, there's a wide range of boats that would be on, you know.
But it's gonna come back again. I just wanna throw it out to you guys so you'll know that it's.
At that meeting, she was talking about it.
Yes, she was, yeah.
All right, well, that's good feedback. So
So we should, in the course of this next month, you know, or before, get your thoughts and disseminate it to you so that maybe be incorporated in the map thing and,
So it's operates the same as SharePoint. You identify a point, you get a comment, blob.
That might be different. Well, it's a PDF, so conceivably you could comment on it. I was imagining literally just writing right on the page and then I could, because I mean.
Physically seeing it.
Physically, but maybe it might work where you could actually go and.
well, I mean, I think we could all
But it's
print
not-
out the pages that we are
Interested in.
know in our own
Yeah.
heads.
Yeah.
I mean,
Print it and just.
you know, I was feeling bad today until they took those apps off the agenda, because I think, okay, you know, this is, again, what we were like faced with.
Oh,
Yeah.
The choice of, well, do you say no, and then, you know, but they have a right to do it, you know, because that's what the code says. You know, maybe you negotiate the length or something down, but, you know, I mean, whatever, I mean.
oh, you mean the two
Both
that,
those apps pretty much had, you know, they were within the doc code.
no.
That's not on the agenda.
I know. You know,
Maybe offline, but, yeah.
But no, it just goes to show that we do need to.
we need to fix this quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, believe me, the last thing I want to do is
We
be
don't want to be conflicted.
dealing with this in
Yeah.
June.
So yeah, in terms of comments, I mean, I don't know how, yeah, you can't go in and, well, however you want to make a comment on there, but that PDF isn't set up specifically for you to be able to
It
go
can be
in
a
and select
narrative
stuff.
form too, that
Yeah.
we can make a copy.
Yeah,
Any which way,
email, however you, whatever works for you.
yeah,
But
any which way.
whole idea is to take a look and provide feedback.
Yeah. But in the end, after the comments, I could incorporate it and make a new version, and that would incorporate them.
Okay,
So, but it wouldn't be, yeah.
that sounds good. So the next item is the new dock fees. Al, I think you put that on.
Yeah, I had questions about, the piling fee. It just seems onerous. And the cost of where we were to where we are now, I mean, from $250 for an application to now people are paying over $4,000. They're counting every piling. They're counting dolphins as 2 pilings. They're counting returns. Now that the returns are on the homeowner's property, they're not on town property. Why are they counted? And the fee is higher. We never had any input whatsoever to this.
Right.
So
Yeah, this is out of the blue. I saw it in the paper. I
that are
think.
the highest of all.
That's where I saw it.
It just boggles my mind.
That's what I was wondering.
It's so expensive to get repaired or replaced. And then to add that, it's like, it's just absurd to me. I'm having a hard time.
You calling it the cost of,
The new dock fee structure that was reported in the paper. So
Here you want people to maintain these things. You gotta lay out,
So the current fee is $250, is that?
no, the old fee was $250.
I mean, well, the old fee, that's what I meant.
For a replacement, for a dock, dredging, bulkheads, groins, repairs,
That was $250.
it was $250.
tell you what we should do here, guys. Let's take the old fees, the new fees. Christina, can we put those in part of the minutes, make that part of the minutes? What the fees were, what the fees are recommended and were approved, right? Have been approved, so.
These
you can use
have
it.
already been approved.
Yeah, you can use it for conversation. If you want to make an appeal or something to the new town board, based on the fee structure, you might want to take that as something that you want to attack Al, that you have the fee.
it'll be the first.
It's unusual that this never came up before us.
Yeah, that is odd.
Well, they knew from our mooring actions that they weren't gonna listen to us anyway, so.
Right. Yeah, they figure why bother? But it's, yeah.
One other thing, I guess, piling, what is the intent here? Because my understanding of the way that the applications have been coming in is that pilings are interpreted as dolphins. And so some of the things have been coming in and saying there's zero pilings, but they're actually, because here, like, so for instance, total number of pilings would be 0. But it's actually not 0. I think the intent, by the way it's being filled out, was as dolphins, but I think it should be pilings. And then the question is, what's the fee then for that? It's like, but it should be the number of pilings.
The way they build, from what I heard, 1 or 2 applications was every single piling.
Every single piling?
Every single piling.
So if you have a 2-piling dolphin, it's 2 pilings.
2 pilings. If you have a dock, you have a piling on either side of the walkway, and I know on many of the ones that you build, there's another one in the middle.
Yeah.
So you're up to $4,500, $5,000 just, for the permit application to the town.
That would be my question. They're considering everything a piling, so that means if you've got 3 of them every, I don't know how far you span them, right?
10 feet.
10 feet, so you got 3 or 6 every 10 feet, then 100 feet, that's 60 pilings?
Is that the intent, or is it the intent that it's separate pilings and dolphins?
Yeah.
I mean, I sort of read it like it wasn't part of the dock
Clear, it's not
How about
clear.
we get you,
Like
how about we get you some
extra
clarity on that? All right, so
It was very not clear.
Yeah, see,
Everything
that's
that
how I
goes
would
in the
that's how I would interpret
Is everything that goes in the ground.
it,
So yeah, that's a
Whether it's
lot.
on, and whether it's on town property or the homeowner's property.
Okay.
And I just think it's
so noted,
onerous.
so noted in the minutes, and we, Amber's here, you know.
Well, it would be interesting, at least from my perspective, to know the thinking behind it. And is there a incentive or a disincentive here? In my thinking, if you want to maintain what's there, you don't want to make it onerously expensive to do that. If you want to disincentivize people from building docks, well, this is a good way to do it.
Right.
But I don't know what the thinking, we weren't involved, so I don't know.
This was precisely the thinking. We look at the surrounding municipalities, and this was precisely the thinking behind it.
Obviously, when you're dealing with the budgets that we're dealing with, revenues obviously become a very important part of helping get through the numerous things that we have to get through on the budget. So we didn't just, we hit everything across the island, in terms of increased revenue, from parking spaces to the recycling center, everything went up there in terms of people, bringing, whether even leaves. For decades, people brought up truckloads, thousands of truckloads of leaves and dumped them. Now that, if you're clearing my property, I'm paying you $700 to clear the leaves. You charge $750 because they're gonna get a $50 charge when they go across the scale. They don't just dump those leaves and we do nothing with them. We play with those things, we move them all over the place. And they cost, with the grinders and everything else, we did compare our rates with everybody else on everything. And I know it was, we were very conscious of trying to increase revenues, obviously, to help balance the budget, and we didn't want to bring a budget in that.
So that sort of brings up the question of where does this money go? Is this going into the general fund, or does this go to the waterways fund? And that was the question that came up with the moorings as well, is.
Amber, you can answer that better than
I'm
you.
trying to remember where if the dock fees go into the WMAC.
And let's just assume they do. So how does that help the general budget? Because it's not being used for general purposes.
They're taking fees, money out of that as user fees or whatever they're calling it, to offset expenses that are.
Right, administrative expenses should be, I know.
Well, it's not just administrative.
Like bank constables, all that stuff.
Correct.
Clerk salaries.
Right.
And then some waterway, any waterways type projects. There's the Compton.
Like Compton Dock.
Yeah, if it's waterways related, or if it's that portion of the constable's salary where he's actually working as a constable as opposed to what he does when he's not a constable, then yeah, I could see it.
The comment, the problem that I think we all had with the mooring thing was we were taking a very small amount of people and supporting services that, benefited everybody.
Yeah, right. So it's not that, yeah, right. So
it wasn't user fee, it was a tax.
Yeah.
And by the way, I just want to, I've never said anything about Jack, but I will in closing here. The Condon dock, you brought that up, when we redid the Condon dock, it cost us $60,000 over 3 years. This man went out, put the whole thing in, had us pay $20,000 a year for 3 years, covered the cost with no interest, and he had it done. Right? I mean, that's the way it worked. And that was a hell of a thing, because if we had spread the cost over 3 years, it would be more like $80,000. Saved us $20,000 by actually laying the stuff out for 3 years. It was actually 2.5 years, because we paid right at the beginning of the third year. But it's still, for our point of view, having people like that help you in town is, we remember those kind of things because they were important. They saved the taxpayer money, and we got a great dock out of it. I mean, that dock was longer, and then it was all improved, and God, it was.
I was there, watched you install that. That was a good day.
Yeah, that was.
That was a good day. Watched you slide that.
Happy time when we get that damn road raised and bulkhead, and hopefully it's gonna come out picture perfect.
I wish we discussed these good things more often.
I thought I'd throw you a good one. I'm going on my way out the door.
I've had a rough couple of weeks here.
We did greatly appreciate it. And then that's just one example of some of the things that Jack has done. Really helped us tremendously.
All right, so any other points on the dock fees? We'll get a spreadsheet showing
Yes.
old, new. Okay,
And also, I'll have Sheldon pull together what revenues flow into water raise monies and what expenditures get pulled. And then there are other expenditures that are kind of waterways, but the waterways fund balance can't support having all of those taken out of waterways monies.
Correct.
So that the budget does carry, the general operating budget does carry some of those things, because Jerry had proposed something a couple of years ago, and I said, if you take all that money out on those expenditures, we won't have a reserve, so that if we do lose a town bulkhead someplace in a storm, we wouldn't have the money to replace it, so we had to put the brakes on.
Like Dawn Lane, when it went, that was an emergency. When we got down and repaired Dawn Lane right away. That was at the expense.
That was at the expense.
Yeah, exactly.
The first time.
The first time. There's been a lot of excuses, Tom.
But until Christina put that on the agenda next month.
thanks. Great. Process with pending applications. Al, that was,
Yeah, I brought that up as well. I know we were talking about, moving things forward very quickly, or having a moratorium. And, I know just from experience how long the process takes. Many times, it's a year. If someone decides they want to apply for a dock, all right, it's getting a survey, it's getting the depth analysis, it's having all the applications drawn up, then submitting it to the DEC. And sometimes you don't hear back from the DEC for months, sometimes years. The Congdon dock application, it's been going on for 3 years. 3 years. All right? So what I feel very strongly about is that someone who has started this process in good faith, laid out the money, including the dock application fee, which is now upwards of $4,000. So you're looking at $10,000 just to apply to put in a dock, just to apply to replace a bulkhead. All right, and if someone started this a year ago and now all of a sudden we're saying, hey, you can't put a dock there, I think that's doing an injustice to the people that started that process that long ago. I could understand that you could say anything that comes in after January 1st, we know that's, but something that is dated from August or June of this year, you have to entertain based on the law that we had at that time. In all
no matter where
in all
you.
fairness to the people that applied.
Right now. And sometimes the law's not fair. I mean, I'll take zoning, for example. I mean, zoning just changes and changes and changes. I bought something, I could expand it up to 100% when I bought it. Bang, 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 bang. Pretty soon I couldn't do anything with it. Because the zoning changed and nobody gave me any money back.
That's what I was saying. Someone's always, there's a long line and you're going to cut that line off at some point. And
Am I mad?
Someone's going to be,
Right.
Someone's always gonna get the short.
somebody's going to be on the outside of that door when it closes. I mean, it's just, we get dock applications every single month, no matter where you draw the line.
But they started 7.
So how far, so you just keep moving, how do you?
No matter when you put the line in at when you change the law.
It still leaves people out who had started before then. So I mean, how?
People have been put on notice.
I'm saying the people that started before.
That we're doing
The people that started before then, you still have to, I would think you would still entertain under the.
The word
It's
is.
dated, the applications are dated. They're dated to the DEC.
But communicating that risk to the applicant by you laying out $5,000, $10,000, there's a possibility that if this dock law is not changed until May of 2024 or beyond, then it might delay your dock. But you have the right to, you want to go through the channels, just understand that the committee is working on this, but that has to be articulated to the applicant. And you say, you know what, maybe we'll hold off a year. Put the ball in their court. You're being fair with them and upfront, at some point. So future applicants, you just have to tell them that.
That goes to a question I had, which,
Well, I mean, give them the opportunity.
what's the actual procedure? Who does the applicant go to first to start the project? They go to the builder. Then the builder goes to who next? The DEC, not the town.
No, the DEC, Army Corps of Engineers, Department of State, but the whole thing starts.
The whole thing is happening.
Joint application.
But we are the last ones to receive any input
Correct.
on anything here.
Correct.
So
By-
how do we
by
notify
our
an
code.
applicant at the very beginning of a process?
I think you already know, you know sort of what's on the horizon perhaps, and you're telling these people when they come to you, that what's possible. I mean, it's never a slam
That's where
dunk.
we start with the hydrographic, we start with the code.
It's never a slam dunk.
Yeah, and I think the other element you have is the town board. How patient is the town board gonna be with the change of the code? I could speak if I was still on the town board. This moratorium doesn't go on forever. It doesn't go on forever. So, I mean, the new town board is gonna say, hey, listen, we'll entertain this until such and such a date, that's it. But, in fairness to everybody, but, if you're gonna rewrite the code, you have time to this is the time of year, when you come in, meet once a month. I'm working with a subcommittee that 3 times in 3 weeks, on removal of trees. If that's what it takes, we get it done, it's.
Well, that's what I think we're looking here. What is the state of the moratorium?
There's a hearing on the 12th.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's gonna be only open. It was submitted to the Suffolk County planners that they will not discuss them from June.
I mean, I think it behooves us to work as quickly as we can on our own.
Anyway,
I agree with that.
didn't,
Whether you have,
didn't Keely say that it didn't need to go through the,
Keely, yeah, his opinion was that it doesn't require the Suffolk County feedback, planning commission, but they do it just
As a
You know,
precaution?
as a precaution. But it's
Stephen
beyond,
Kiley?
it's beyond, Steve Collins, it's beyond their jurisdiction. It's his opinion, so we do it just
More as a courtesy and a.
so
does that mean that the town board would vote on it after
have
the hearing, or
some
would they
options. They
wait
could-
for January? We don't know.
we don't know what Amber's gonna do.
Ask the question, and I was looking at an email, sorry.
Just talking about the moratorium, which comes on for a hearing next week, the 12th, and whether the town, not having received feedback from the Suffolk County Planning Commission, would have a hearing, hear people, and make a decision, or
We will open the hearing, but then we'll leave it open until we get the feedback from the Suffolk County Planning Commission.
Even if that's not a requirement according to Stephen?
Yeah, I think it's just good form.
Okay.
To run it past them, and that way, in case they came back and said, no, you are required,
We've already covered the base. Okay.
rather than us proceeding and then them coming and telling us, you can't do this, you should come to us. Kind of CYA.
Yeah.
Seems like in the interim, it creates kind of the rush to drop in applications like we've just sort of saw.
I mean, that's.
But if they
No,
don't, but the-
I'm trying to preclude that. I'm talking about things that have already been,
Right.
that have been dated.
I mean, for instance, Jack, when were these 2 applications initiated?
I don't think there's too
The
many.
ones that,
A lot, it's been on for a while. Mainland and Bigham, it's been going on through getting the surveys,
Right.
getting the hydrographic survey
so like since the summer or before, or?
this summer.
And that's the ones that are not on the agenda.
Right.
Once that gets
they didn't have DEC permits, so
So it's about 6-7 months prior that they start before they get to the DC stage where the DC comes back with an answer?
You get a letter, like if they want something changed, you get a letter of, just asking for more information. It's a notice of incomplete application. That's what they call it. So it makes it expedite, look bad when you get one, but it's just a request for more information.
The problem what we're getting with the New York State DEC though is when you make a slight modification in an application, it goes to the bottom of the pile, you know, rather than, you know, it's a minor little thing. It should not go to the bottom of the pile. You know, you wanted this done, it's done, approve it, you know, rather than put it on the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah, and when they look at it again, they find something else that they want you to change.
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering, is that something that, I don't know whether it doesn't sound like it's procedurally correct or anything, but is that something that maybe we can get a glimpse of it before the DEC sends it back saying it's okay, and then we find something in there that doesn't meet us?
You can do a pre-submission inspection. Sometimes we've done that on site. So you come to the WMAC or whatever and ask for your thoughts behind it, you know, because the DEC regulations and your regulations are a mile apart. It's not even close.
Well, that would help the applicant and everybody involved if there was we knew what was going on, and then they could go through the final.
The ZBA does it, the planning board does it.
And Jack's done it on occasion when he's got a question.
Come in for,
Did.
Yeah.
Well,
as a concept consideration.
maybe when Doug was around, he was doing it.
I think that might solve a lot of headaches that are finding, you know, after the fact, things that are coming up, you know, that might be easy.
Well, a lot of times, just my experience when there's been leniency to the code, like on the outside waters, they've allowed docks up to 150 feet in the past 5 years. So we kind of go, okay, we don't need to go that far. We come in for 125 feet based on the, you know, the overall length of the docks on the outside of the water hasn't been right for years. And I think we've already been in agreement. That's one of the things that's going to be changed in the code. So like you're saying, sometimes we do like a pre-submission inspection. I'll bring something to the guys, and say, you know, this is what I'm up against. This is where I'm gonna go to the DEC, and I don't want to do this, you know, around and around. So it's
So I'm a little new to this, but you have done it in the past, so that's okay.
and South Oak Town, you pay them $50, and they'll come out. And,
Well, I think we get 1,000 for that.
Per pilot.
I mean, it wouldn't make sense then to have sort of this permit be the first thing, and then they're going off, already having this in place, going to the DEC. I mean, it seems like that would add a whole lot of work for this committee.
Yeah, no.
But I mean,
Just in certain circumstances, I guess that'd be applicable. If you had a difficult application or something that you didn't see, it didn't meet our setbacks or something, for instance.
yeah, I've had a lot of that. I've had a lot of that this year.
Yeah.
I mean, you've come to us with, you know, pre-application a couple of times. Yeah. Where you know it's kind of like, whatever.
It's either gray or whatever, yeah.
Right. We're always trying to make it better and more conforming. I mean, like as far as like the setback and stuff, we've operated within the setback, but made it better, you know, so I'm trying.
Team effort.
Anything else?
I got something.
Oh, you got, who? Oh, sorry, John.
OCC, town hired an outfit to completely survey the whole West Neck system. Depths. Pete Bethke left office, he just threw this whole pile of charts in my arms. I think the town clerk's office has copies of them, I don't know. I should pass those on into the town clerk, or you guys.
That would be very helpful to have, yeah.
This is,
Is that for a dredging application?
What is it?
You know, this went back to locating mooring fields and trying to locate them according to depth. The whole West Neck system was surveyed. The town spent about $40,000.
I would think the Manatee one should have been surveyed also, because they've been talking about dredging that.
Yeah, that's true.
And the other thing is, for many decades, Cornell Cooperative Extension had a coastal geologist. And my brother had a very close relationship with him. Not only did he do geology, but he also did pollution control. And he's since retired, but if you want, I could do some inquiries, see if that position has been filled by somebody else. And I called him out at one point to look at at Real Point to give his opinion on that. So, so Cornell had a person for all of Long Island. I mean,
Yeah, if you could pass that info on, that would be great, if that position's still,
if that position still exists, I would highly recommend it.
that sounds like something that could be used immediately.
Well, the depth information would be how old though? I mean, we'd have to add a foot to it, right? I mean,
Yeah, I don't know that you could use it for accuracy, but maybe for,
contour, you know,
you know,
okay, yeah, great.
I'll give that into somebody's hands this week.
Sounds good.
Is that it? All right, guys, have a good night. Yeah.
Thank you.
And a Merry Christmas.
Well done.
Move for adjournment, anybody?
So moved.
Second?
Second, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I think we should get, nominate John back on the board.
No, right?